All right. I think we are live. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to jump probably right into it, even as a few more people join in here, but we already got quite a few folks in the room. So we'll get rolling. Today, we're going to talk primarily focus on specialty contractors and how to use the Clearstory's cloud-based change order log to ultimately help you get paid faster, but also really focus on how this helps your GC or any customer that you're working with as well. We're going to jump ahead here. We're going to quickly introduce myself and TJ. We're going to give you guys like a really brief overview of Clearstory and what we're all about, the challenges we solve. And then we're going to jump into a few slides that really talk about the change order log, what the change order log is all about, why your GC asked for it, why it's best practice to keep one yourself, but some of the downsides of keeping a static change order log like most folks do today, and where Clearstory's innovation on the cloud-based change order log really comes into play and why it's so valuable. And then I'm going to kick it over to TJ, hopefully with a good amount of time to kind of walk through inside of Clearstory how this feature and functionality works. And then at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A and get you guys out of here, hopefully right around the half-hour mark here. So quick intros. My name's Cameron. I'm the founder and CEO of Clearstory. My background is commercial construction. Started in the trades when I was 17, studied construction management in college. I worked for the largest general contractor in Silicon Valley, where we're still based out of today. And I was tired of dealing with change orders. And so that was really the idea and inspiration behind Clearstory. TJ joined me early on. TJ, you want to give your background?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. So I spent about the same amount of time in commercial construction, from all the way project engineer, project manager, ended my career on the commercial side as a superintendent. I worked on the MEP side a lot, so most of my superintendent role became at the end of a job, and you de facto became the change order and T&M tag cleanup guy. So I got tired of all of it from inception to completion. So a lot of what we'll show you today is a way to make this process live and transparent and collaborative, as opposed to a stack of Excel logs and paper tickets.
So quickly about Clearstory, many of you we saw that joined the webinar are probably existing customers of ours, but if you're not familiar with us, we really think of ourselves as a change order communication and workflow platform with really the whole goal of increasing transparency between the different stakeholders on construction projects. So for specialty contractors, we offer a whole suite of tools to help you create, track, and share T&M tickets, but also estimated and forward price changes with your GC client. And for general contractors, we offer a way for them to see their entire change order exposure, which for a GC is really the cost exposure. So what really makes Clearstory unique is it is a network. You can invite your counterparty to the software if you choose to, but you can also use it independently, which is what we'll really focus on today, is how you can use it across your whole company as a specialty contractor, really with the focal point around one of our features today, which is our cloud-based shareable change order log. Just to like frame the problem. So we recently ran this industry survey, which we're going to publish all the results from. And we really wanted to get a sense of the state of change orders across the industry. So we interviewed, or we surveyed 300 specialty contractors and general contractors, ranging from owners, executives, all the way down to project managers. And we're going to issue a big, kind of white paper with all of our findings. It was very interesting to see the data come back. But a couple of the key stats I think will help frame today's conversation is these four we listed here. So the first one is 66% of the respondents, specialty contractors, said their change order logs were out of alignment with their GCs. And it's no surprise as we get into it, a static change order log by definition is out of date the second you send it, right? Because it is that point in time of what the change order exposure and what's outstanding is based on that change order log. 67% of the GCs said that they are surprised by change orders at the end of a project. They find them in their inbox or their superintendent's vest. 76% of specialty contractors say delay in COR approval impacts cash flow, which we hear from many of our customers. And again, that's like the whole purpose of our suite of tools, is to help you decrease time to visibility so you can surface things faster, but more importantly, help your GC see what's out there and ultimately get things approved. And then the final one is, again, a big thing that we focus on. 71% of specialty contractors have experienced strained GC relationships over change order issues. And this also comes as no surprise to me. I didn't get in very many disputes or arguments in my career, but the ones I did were almost always around change order misalignment. Either we were surprised and we were trying to find money late in the project in our budget to pay for change orders, or we didn't agree on the cost, or whatever the number of issues might have been. But the root cause of almost every single dispute was a visibility gap. We were surprised, we didn't account for it, and it's now late in the project, and we're trying to figure out a way to pay for it. TJ, I don't know if you want to add anything here, but I think this does a nice job of framing what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to hear from the group at the end, sort of what they think about those stats. But, my main feedback is, a lot of change order work or T&M work, it doesn't get disputed, or it's not contentious because of the merit of the work, right? Usually a GC asks you, hey, can you come in on Saturday? Or we're doing some overtime. We're touching up some walls. Usually it's just how the information is then received, right? Did I get this in a clean document? Did I receive it on time? Or did I get this proposal 7 months after we did the ribbon cutting on the job, and now I got to go find a bucket of money that doesn't exist? So that's a lot of what we aim to solve within Clearstory and its collaboration features.
Yep. And again, this is like the problem that we at Clearstory coined, is what we call the change order gap, which is like why these issues occur. Everyone has some sort of core financial software where they're keeping track of their project budget, or maybe even you're keeping track of your project budget in a giant Excel workbook. We see that a lot as well. But ultimately, wherever you're keeping track of your budget is usually private. It's where you're forecasting costs, you're understanding where you're tracking towards your fee, your general conditions, your direct costs. But the tools are purposely not designed to be collaborative. Like, you don't want to invite, if you're a subcontractor, you don't want your GC in your financial software. And if you're a GC, you certainly don't want all of your subs to have access to your financial budget as well. So as a result, to get alignment on what's outstanding, the whole industry, in my experience as well, is we rely on tools outside of those systems. So the one we're going to talk about today is the change order log. That's the key tool to say, here is what I think is outstanding. Do you agree? And that's really what we'll focus on today. But some of those other workflows that happen, usually in the change order gap, are paper T&M tickets, where, if you're one of our customers, you're probably using our mobile app to digitize the T&M process. Often, pricing up change order requests is done manually, either in Excel workbooks or other financial software. We offer tools to expedite that process. And then one of the big things that, again, our cloud-based change order log really helps reduce the back and forth on is just all the email review correspondence. So again, Clearstory, we focus on the change order gap, so the things in the middle there, and how that kind of manifests. And this is both for specialty contractors and GCs. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is understand if your forecast internally matches what your counterparty thinks is out there. So as a GC, we would do our monthly forecasting and reporting. We were trying to make sure we had accounted for every change order request, which ultimately is our cost. And on the specialty contractor side, the change orders are going to represent your revenue. So you're trying to make sure, does the GC have everything out there that I'm assuming is going to be added to my budget and revenue on this project? And so again, all the items below the iceberg is really what the change order gap represents. And so by using Clearstory as a specialty contractor, you can really ensure what you're forecasting internally matches what your general contractor is looking at. And that's the big driver behind the cloud-based change order log, because you can capture all the things that are floating out there and organize and present them in a really clear way for your customer, which is what we'll get into now. So the first thing we want to do is frame the why behind a change order log, why it's so important. And again, the reason why your GC keeps asking you for an up-to-date log. So as a general contractor, what we're trying to do is, across the 20, 30, 40 subcontractors we have on the project, we're trying to make sure we have everything. And usually, as everyone in the industry is, we're busy. And so usually maybe you get a couple hours a week to sit down and actually review change order requests. And what happens is so much of the time is just simply spent downloading information from your inbox, checking to see if you have a log from each subcontractor to make sure you haven't missed anything before you even get to the point of being ready to actually review the change order requests and punch them into your financial software. So as a GC, like when we get that window of time to sit down and review change order requests, so hopefully we can get them approved, change orders cut to you guys, or package them up and put them in front of our client, our first step is usually just simply doing an audit of, do I have everything? And that's why the change order log is so important. TJ, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, step one, right? I think everybody, whether you're a specialty contractor or a GC, your email inbox is kind of where you're living all day. And then there's some form of a share drive, right? The J drive, the K drive, M drive, and that's kind of where PDFs and, PDFs of email strings kind of go to die, in my opinion. So step one of the review is here's this Excel log that I got last week with this month's, G702 billing. Where are all the things that are associated with this, and do I actually have them more before I even sharpen my pencil and start reviewing them? And that's almost 90% of the battle, is kind of making sure that that sheet is up to date with the other sheet and the other sheet and all the PDFs and the backup documentation.
Yeah. And the one big thing I'll stress is if you're a specialty contractor listening to this, for better or worse, when your GC has that window to review change order requests, we are going to gravitate towards the subcontractors we know that are most organized, because that's where we can make the most efficient use of our time. So, I was on jobs with 2,500 subcontractor change order requests. I want to maximize the use of my time. So I'm going to go where I know I can get change orders that are readily available. I can start reviewing, I can put them into PCOs in my system of record. And so if the more organized you are, the more your change orders will float to the top of that priority queue. And again, that's why I built Clearstory and why we have that feature of the cloud-based change order log, which we'll get to in a second. But if you imagine I'm a GC and I know I can click a link, and every time I click that link, I'm going to have the latest change order log from that sub. I'm going to go there first. And again, that's like the reason why we built this entire feature. So if there's one takeaway on why that's important, like that's really what's going on the other side of the table when it comes to change order review. And so most change order logs in the industry are really kept in like one of two ways, I would say. I would say most of the companies we talk to and work with are keeping a spreadsheet of every time they send a change order request over to their GC, they're logging it in that Excel change order log. The alternative is if you have a financial software where you're entering PCOs, you might be exporting your change order log, out of that system. But typically it winds up in a PDF version that you're sending over, ideally with a date on it, ideally with numbering order on it, so the GC can understand and quickly identify change order numbers, dates, all the pertinent information. Again, with the whole goal of making sure the GC knows what's out there. But the big downside of sending a PDF is you're really hoping that they've downloaded the associated change order requests. And usually what happens is we ask for you guys to send us a change order log. It takes a couple of days. We get it back. We look at it and we're like, oh, change order 12, 13, and 17, I don't have a copy of. So then we've got to email again and say, hey, can you send me 12, 13, and 17? Maybe it got spam filtered out of my inbox. Maybe you accidentally sent it to the project engineer. And so again, every time there's one of those back and forths, whether it's asking for a change order log, asking for, to resend a document you've already sent, like there's real world reasons why that happens. But ultimately for the trade partners, that's just an instant delay in your cash flow and approval cycle. And that's really the challenge of a static log, is that there's usually no history behind it, none of the files that are associated with it attached to it. So it's great to keep a log and it's super important, but even with a static log, there's still downsides to it in terms of not having everything instantly attached to it, and also not having it always be up to date. Because if I wind up finally looking at your log 2 weeks later, now I'm nervous that something has happened in that 2-week period, and I might ask you for another change order log. Anything I missed there, TJ?
Nope, that's a good roundup there.
So obviously what we're trying to avoid and help not only the specialty contractors that our customers avoid, but also their GC counterparts avoid is just simply change orders accumulating till the end of the project. And it's natural for this to happen on jobs because of the issues I described, but also just because of the fast-paced nature. And the big thing that we're always trying to avoid for everyone is getting to project closeout, where, like TJ mentioned, you've already done the ribbon cutting, but the work in terms of financial closeout still isn't done. And so really the whole goal behind Clearstory is to sort of flatten that curve and work through change orders faster. And often, as a specialty contractor, you're at the mercy of the GC, or at least it might feel that way. But with a lot of our tools, we help you be more proactive about it, which ultimately helps them surface things faster and work them through their process faster as well. And then the last thing we'll mention is this type of paperwork, even though it might seem super mundane, but it really represents you and your company, how you present this information. Again, to my point earlier about we prioritize the ones that are going to be easier for us to understand is really true. And so again, if you want your change orders and your review cycle to float to the surface, the best way to do that is present things in like a super organized and professional manner. And I think that's what's cool about Clearstory is we give you a lot of tools to help do that effortlessly and with a lot of consistency. Anything to add here, TJ?
No, I think one of the biggest things, and I'll get into it in the demo, is a lot of the parts and pieces that everybody does in their own kind of unique way around change order logs. Literally down to just the easy stuff, right? What columns you put where, the date, the PCO number, the title, what revision it is. A lot of those things, from the GC perspective, they're getting probably 25 different formats. And so what's really nice, what Clearstory offers, a specialty contractor is, hey, our deliverable to any of our clients is going to look exactly the same across the board. And then it kind of creates some consistency and kind of a consistent experience of, hey, if we're getting these from, TJ's Electrical, they're going to look exactly the same. We're going to read them and it's going to be concise and clean. And so that's a lot of the feedback, like you see here from Clint's note there of, on the receiving end, the customer experience is just a little more uniform.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like the more professional the documentation is that you're sending to the GC, that really helps your GC communicate that story upstream to the owner. Because basically what we do is every document you send to us ultimately goes to the owner for a final review and reconciliation of allowances and contingencies and things like that. So the better the backup documentation is, it one lets the GC review it faster, but it's not just the GC reviewing it, it's their client as well. So again, if you're presenting really good, really crisp information to the GC, you're actually helping them take that to the client as the next step, because we have to attach all that backup information and present it to the owner in order to get a draw on an allowance or a draw on a contingency or purely added work. And again, it makes that other part of the feedback loop go well. And again, I think some of the people on the webinar are general contractors, and our shareable change order log can be used upstream with the client just the same, and really for the same reasons. And we're not going to spend too much time on this, but there's really three key ROI metrics that we really focus on for our subcontractor customers. The first is just, and they all really relate back to reducing revenue at risk and improving cash flow, but it really starts with faster COR processing time. So the faster you can surface costs, not only are you going to help yourself reduce days aging because your timeline of actually surfacing that stuff and packaging it goes down, but you're also going to have better team productivity. And then again, by capturing it consistently digitally, you're simply just going to lose out on less lost revenue. That's a bit of a mouthful there. And then the third part, which is really where the change order log comes in, is the reduction in days aging on the review cycle. So again, all those wasted efforts of resending the log or resending change order requests really go away by using Clearstory's cloud-based change order log. And it has like a really material impact on the overall cash flow of the company, because all those, they might seem small, but every little reduction in back and forth just simply goes to reduce your days aging in terms of like the actual review cycle. So if you think about it, the faster you can process, that shrinks your your days aging, and then the faster you can help your GC review things, that also shrinks your days aging. And so we'll jump into the demo in a second, but just to frame it, TJ is going to walk you guys through our cloud-based change order log. So, just internally, it's really powerful to be able to see across all your projects the customer-facing change order log for every project. So there's a lot of filtering. You can see any job you want in there. But what's powerful is you can create, similar to Google Drive or Box, you can create a shareable link to send your customer the log of one single project. And with it, it automatically updates whenever you make a change to it or add a change order request, but it also stores all the backup docs and version history. So there's never that scenario of the GC says, I didn't see it, or can you resend me that document? Simply by sending them that link, they have everything. And so you're helping them reduce their risk, you're helping them keep track of visibility, but you're also eliminating some excuses and really holding you and them both accountable to make sure you know everything that's out there. So quickly, before we jump into the demo, I'll just kind of walk you through a visual diagram of how Clearstory works for a specialty contractor. The key thing to understand is getting started is super easy. So you don't actually have to change anything you're doing today. You can keep creating change order requests exactly as you do today. All you're going to change is instead of emailing your GC through your email, you're effectively going to email them through Clearstory. So you're going to drag and drop your document, send it to your GC, and it gets automatically logged in Clearstory's cloud-based change order log. From there, you can generate, whenever you want, a shareable link of that log and send it to your customer. So they're going to be able to access that log throughout the duration of the project and always see the latest change orders that are out there. This then becomes really powerful. We have built-in reporting tools like days aging and other analytical tools you can look at to get a sense of every project's health in terms of out-of-contract work. But what you can also do, either through some of our integrations or even unintegrated, you can compare what's in Clearstory to what you're forecasting internally. And the last couple of things I'll touch on is other workflows we have that help surface costs faster. Digital T&M tickets is a core of our product. You can document labor, material, equipment, take photos of your work. Your GC can sign that remotely via email. Those automatically get logged back in the office. And if you have your change order rates stored in our software, you can instantly convert T&M tags into change order requests. And again, all of those tools kind of work together to reduce that cycle time. So with that, we'll kick it over to TJ for a super quick demo. And anything we don't cover today, just so everyone knows, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do a deeper dive demo. But TJ, want to kick it off and go through a couple screens here?
Absolutely. All right. And let me know if everybody can see the screen here. Good on screen there, Cameron? All right.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, cool. So yeah, I think that, kind of getting back to the very core product of, what does the day-to-day look like of creating whatever sort of way you guys are creating a change order log today, right? Is it in Excel? Is it another system of record? I think, very bluntly, the minute that gets sent upstream to a client, to a GC, it's out of date, right? It's a static document. So I think back to sort of the core purpose of the conversation today is the live shareable change order log. What you're looking at here is the Clearstory web app. So this is what it looks like every day on your laptop and on your desktop. So if I'm a project manager and I'm running a scope, all I'm doing is clicking here. This is my change order log. Me as a specialty contractor, I'm on the sent side. If there's any general contractors on the line, again, I'm on the received side. So back to the concept of, sort of this shareable, collaborative sort of network of change order communication. Every back and forth lives within the platform. And then, kind of full stop, that need for a side Excel spreadsheet goes away, because what you're looking at here, again, I'm on the sent side. I'm just filtered on one project. What I'm looking at here is truly my live shareable change order log for the project. And then all the details that I would typically fill in Excel, almost all of that is automated within Clearstory. So, here's my proposal number, date submitted. Here's the title. Here's my dollar value. If there's T&M tags associated with it, customer reference number, right? Whatever you guys use, PCIs, PCOs, EWAs. So all of that's automated within the platform, not a lot of manual data entry. A lot of what we focus on the back end, things that we keep track for you, that Cam was mentioning earlier, a lot of the things that kind of live sort of in embedded email threads, or kind of in PDFs, or in the side sheet, or that famous column on every Excel sheet, right? That says like internal notes only. What we'll keep track in Clearstory here is, hey, days aging. If I've got 20, 30, 50 PCOs on a job, can I really tell in my Excel log how long these have been there without just going back to my email? The other nice thing, we keep track of file views. So legitimately, you send your proposals through Clearstory, we'll be able to see if anybody opened them on the receiving end. The other nice thing, back to the sort of closing that, communication gap. One of the biggest struggles I had on the GC side was I would have a PCO or a change order log from a trade. They would have one, I would have 5 or 6 approved and 2 rejected and 1 in review. And then they would have almost the exact opposite, right? So what's really nice, again, this is a shared collaborative real-time log. So if a GC comes in here and marks this one void, or if you receive a cut change order right outside of the system, with a click of a button, you guys can come in here and update these statuses, and then all parties can see that status update in one place. So again, the need to reconcile what's in an email, what's in PDF, what's in a shared drive goes away, and then what this represents is a live real-time look at your active change order log. What I think is really powerful from here, obviously, we all still rely, you're still going to have to send a PDF, right? A change order log. You still might want to take it out to Excel to, do some pivot tables or do some other things as it relates to your backend system of record. Everything in the platform is exportable. It's also filterable. So you can do a filter of, hey, what's just in review or what's been rejected. So everything in the platform can go out to PDF or Excel. We've got really nice formats. I'll just show you guys a quick example of, you can have as much or as little on this screen as you want. This is a really long one. Hopefully your change order logs are never this long. But what's really nice at the end of this, we'll also show you guys a really nice sort of contract summary here at the end. So again, when you load in sort of original contract value, all the other things as they change and evolve through statuses, we'll keep track of all that as well. The other really nice thing, back to what Cam mentioned first, in terms of a shareable link, right? If I'm on the receiving end on the GC side and you say to me, hey, we're coming to the end of the job or the end of the month, time to do a full reconciliation. Where am I going as the reviewer to sort of find the latest and greatest? What's really nice within Clearstory, again, you have the ability to take that log for that job to PDF or Excel. What we also have is this concept of a shareable link. And as Cam mentioned earlier, same thing for like, hey, here's a link to a Google Drive or to a Dropbox, etc. So you come here, you go share link and you go export. You take that link and copy it. Now that link is legitimately a live link to your live change order log. And if I'm on the receiving end of that on the GC side, what I'm going to receive here, again, I don't have to have a login to Clearstory. That URL is going to take me here. And kind of the beauty of this is not only do I have this live log here, I have a nice dashboard of all sort of the data and the analytics. I literally also have, and this to me was always a pet peeve, right? I'd get a log and then, as Cam might have mentioned earlier, I'm in 12 different places to try and find the corresponding PDF. Is this really Rev 1? Is this Rev 0? So your customer, your client, your GC, whomever, not only do they have a real-time log, they have every single associated PDF. So if I came on the job day one and I said, hey, I have to go close out Dunder Mifflin, this link can give me truly every single piece of data that I need. So really nice way to
And a
kind of
couple
see.
and a couple of points to add there too, like TJ touched on it, but you can decide which columns you want to share. You can set the what permission that the GC can do inside the log. So there's a bunch of ways to kind of control, but ultimately whatever you choose to send to them and add to your change order log, they're going to have access there. And so again, like what we recommend usually as best practice is like when you submit a change order request through Clearstory, there's a checkbox that allows you to include a link to that project's change order log. So basically every time you send a COR through Clearstory, you can also send a link to the rest of the change orders on the job. And so again, it's just like a way of over ensuring your GC has everything and they're not going to be surprised. Because again, what I mentioned is like so true. Like the biggest issues I got into with trade partners was always around change order surprises. And so this tool just sort of forces you to or not forces you, but it gives you a really easy way to solve that change order gap and ensure, and that's the checkbox that TJ is describing there. Just gives you an easy way to make sure your GC has everything. And the last thing I'll double down on it, TJ mentioned, like we have that file views tracker, but also it tracks whether or not they've opened the email. And it's actually a really powerful feature, not only for the subcontractors using Clearstory, because what happens here, a lot of our customers, their workflow becomes sort this log by which change orders are aging the longest and tell me which ones no one's opened yet. So if you send a $10,000 change order request to your GC and they miss the email or and the Clearstory tells you that, that's $10,000 of risk in their court that they don't know about. And so our quick ability to resend those change order requests actually really helps your GC, again, just reduce risk and make sure there's no surprises. So TJ just resent this change order request, and he's also including a link to that change order log. And yeah, keep going, TJ. Sorry, I just wanted to really point out those
Yeah.
two things.
No, yeah, I'll show one other thing. Again, the easy ability to kind of look at, days aging and file views. The other thing within the platform that's incredibly valuable, especially for longer term projects, as team members from within your own company come and go, or as project managers, project engineers on your customer side come and go. What we have within Clearstory is the concept of this activity feed, right? So let's say I'm Mr. Dunder Mifflin, I'm sending change orders up to XYZ GC. Over here on the right side is what we call our activity feed. So this is truly going to show you, hey, on June 17th at 1:55 in the afternoon, me, TJ, I created this. I sent this over to these two people over at, my general contractor. And anytime somebody opens this, makes a comment, does a markup, changes a status, that history is all going to live here. And every single piece of it's going to have a date and a timestamp, which just becomes super valuable when it comes to closeout, especially on long-term jobs. Like I said at the start of the call, most change order, disputes or sort of long-term reconciliations, it's not because of merit of scope, right? The drawings changed, there was a scope change. There's merit to dollars being added to a contract, or a GC says, "Hey, it rained on Friday. We're doing the concrete pour on Saturday." Like there's merit to the work that somebody asked you to do. Most of the reason there's dispute is I got the information late. I can't read it. Did you send it to me? Where's the backup? Is this really Rev 1 or Rev 2 or Rev 3? And the really nice part with Clearstory, 99% of that is automated just by using the shareable change order log. And we literally take care of the rest, and we document every single button click and every single open through the entirety of the workflow.
Yeah, and to double down on that too, like it's I guess maybe earmuffs to some of the GCs on the webinar, but we can, to TJ's point, any change order that has merit, we can almost always find budget to cover that change order request in our allowances or contingencies or somewhere in our budget, so long as it's surfaced quickly. The times that we can't cover it are when so much time has passed and maybe we've already exhausted that allowance or that a contingency. And that's when it puts the general contractor in a really tough spot. So like I can't stress enough how important it is to surface the cost as fast as possible and in a really clear way for the GC to understand everything. Because if you do that, there's almost always a way to get a change order covered in the GC's budget. But the times that you can't do it are when it's so much time has passed that the funds that are there in the budget to cover the cost are no longer there. And that's really like the root of all the change order challenges that happen. So TJ, I think we've covered everything in the software. Again, there's like so much else obviously we could show, the pricing workflows, the T&M log, all that kind of stuff. So if anyone on here is interested in seeing the rest of the platform or even asking more questions about the change order log, reach out to us. And we have tons of, a lot of our sales team is from the industry. So they're really good at talking through this process. But we'd love to open it up to Q&A. And if there's not a ton of questions, we'll happily give you guys some time back. Or I guess not time back because we are a couple of minutes over. So we're happy to end it. So let's see if any questions pop in here. Oh, here we go. Q&A. What if my GC doesn't use Clearstory? So that's a good question. So again, the way we design the entire platform is your GC does not need to be using Clearstory. I'm sure many of you have probably seen like invites from your GC to Clearstory. But the way we designed it is kind of similar concept to like DocuSign. So for T&M tickets or change order requests, an email is going to go out to them through our system. They can open it, download it, move on with their life. If it's a T&M ticket, they can sign it and also move on with their life. We do give them the option of creating a free account, and they can just simply see everything in a log that's been sent to them. So again, it's just whatever you choose to send to them. You can also create permissions where maybe you don't want them to access the log from inside of Clearstory. You can remove that access so they can only access it from like the shareable. So there's a bunch of ways that we kind of optimize that. And it looks like the other question was, can I see if my GC has opened my COR? Yes, we proactively answered that question. So I think that's probably it for time because I know we're already 5 minutes over, but we'll send this out to everyone as a follow-up. And again, if anyone else has questions, please actually, one more question just came in. Say we need to delete a project in Clearstory. Say we accidentally create a duplicate project. Is there a way to delete a project? Yeah. So we have like the workflow is first you archive it. So you always have a list of all the archive projects, and you can always restore archive projects. And once a project is on the archive list, you can permanently delete it from that list if it's like a duplicate or something you want to get rid of. So that's the workflow for that. But yeah, I think we'll wrap. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate the time, and hopefully we're looking forward to working with you.